Hello, ladies and gents. This is Avery here on behalf of Vladdy, and we are going to be starting a second episode of our series called Zest or Zooch. Zest or Zooch is our kind of like a Yakuza talk show, where we talk about different aspects of the Yakuza series. You know, it's kind of stuff that we like, stuff that we disliked. And the topic of today's episode is going to be about Kiryu in Yakuza 0. We're going to be talking about Kiryu himself, his characters, his story arc in Yakuza 0, the location, and last, the mini games. So, without further ado, let's get to it.
Alright, man, what's up?
Yeah, what's up?
We have quite a few amount of characters to go through today.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of good ones too, so this is going to be exciting.
Do you have anyone you want to start with? Because I have my absolute favorite that I am ready to talk about forever. You have anyone in mind?
Go ahead.
Oda. I love him.
Wow, what? Oda, okay, so, what an interesting character. Alright, what do you like about Oda? How about you start this?
So, like, basically, he has a very interesting arc going on in the story, where he first starts out as very antagonistic to Kiryu. If you remember, when Kiryu was seeing him kind of like threatening this shop owner who was squatting, and then we find out that, you know, he was just trying to get some more money out of a deal. Oda, his character is just like, it's relatable because he has jealousy in his character. We end up finding that eventually. Mm-hmm. But his motives are also, like, a little bit understandable. I do dislike how he betrayed Tachibana. It kind of made no sense. At the very least, fit. Like, because he loves Tachibana. Like,
yeah, he does.
That's his, you know, it's like a brother to him. And so I don't see why he would not let him know that he did that to Makoto, you know? I think he would have come clean because he respected him. But at the same time, I understand why the story went the way they did. But I think he was just a very cool, charismatic character that added an interesting kind of dynamic with Tachibana and Kiryu, you know?
Yeah.
Two more serious types, but they were given an Oda, and it kind of, like, you know, made them have different kind of conversations and scenarios, because like Kiryu and Oda had that, you know, kind of superior and employee kind of conversations constantly going on that were nice. And then like Tachibana, obviously we didn't really see too much of his like human character because he was always focused on the task being, you know, buying the lot. And so I think
which also at that same time kind of characterizes Tachibana as well.
Yeah. So it kind of like, it fills that void of, you know, more, you know, buddy-buddy interactions. But then at the same time, there was a story arc where Tachibana was talking about how it was good to have a true friend, and that, you know, that he was kind of alluding to Kiryu being that.
Yep. Yeah. Oda is... I have like... I don't know how to describe it other than a love-hate relationship with Oda, because... So, there are a lot of things I like about his character, but I don't think I would want... I'm not sure if I would want to have him as, like, a personal friend. I kind of could, I guess. I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword where, he's shown as being really, He's shown as being really, what's the word?
Loyal?
Loyal. He's shown as being really loyal to Tachibana until he wasn't. Which, I mean, it characterizes him as loyal, but it also characterizes him at the same time as kind of a backstabber.
He's kind of jealous. That's his motive. You know, he wanted Tachibana to himself. If Makoto had made it there, that would have meant that he would possibly lose Tachibana forever. Which is like, I think the direction they were going with this character. It's not that he wanted to betray Tachibana, but he kind of like wanted it to stay a secret so he could stay being his friend.
Wasn't he doing this off of the for Shibusawa?
Yeah, I'm pretty. Well, no, he let them know where Makoto was. He possibly.
Oh yes, yes.
He possibly.
I remember now.
Either wanted to give her away to them, or to like kill her, but then eventually he does, let Kiryu and Makoto run, and he stands off alone against the Shibusawa family that kill him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't interpret that as jealousy. I interpreted it as like he wasn't ready for what was about to happen.
Oh yeah, that too, definitely.
That's definitely how I interpreted it. Another thing like I don't like about Tachibana, he comes off as dishonest.
Tachibana, you mean Oda?
Or not Oda. Yeah. Oh, Oda comes off as dishonest in like the way that he didn't tell Tachibana, his like closest friend. The way that he didn't tell Tachibana comes off as dishonest because.
Yeah.
I'm trying to come up with words and they're not coming out of my mouth.
Well, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
But see, is that that's part of the reason why he's, I would say, a good character.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
There needed to be some kind of cracks in their plan, because it obviously couldn't just have went perfectly.
And there'd be no plot.
Excuse me. Comparing like Kiryu's story to Majima, it's like at that point where he joined Tachibana, it just seemed like it was easy come, easy go from there, which is why like that that scenario that happened there kind of brought back those difficulties and scenarios that Kiryu had to overcome during the story.
Yeah. That's another reason. I do agree that makes him a very interesting character. It's just, I like him as here's a good way to put it. I like him as a character. I'm not so sure I like him as a person. And also, first impressions matter. The earliest screen time you see with Oda, the way he just composed himself. Not just with like the business deals and stuff before he actually partnered up with, Kiryu partnered up with them. Even after that, just the way that he composed himself as higher than Kiryu, it doesn't rub me the right way. He doesn't rub me the right way.
Well, I mean, okay, I had a thought there, but I lost it. They had some good. No, I was trying to add to your discussion. They had some good moments though, Kiryu and Oda, like during their time in Soto. Oh, bless you. They had some good conversations, and it felt like they were getting closer, which kind of made it even more sad that Oda had to die.
Yeah, it did feel like Oda was beginning to come off his high horse.
Yeah, in my eyes. It was like he was getting,
which is good. That's character development.
But then guess what? We find out why he's the reason he is, and that kind of also added to that. Oh goodness gracious, what's gonna happen to the group now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. I like Oda as a character. I hate him as a person. Well, I don't know about hate. I don't like him as I don't like him as a person. I really like him as a character.
All right, we spending a bit too much time on Oda because we have a lot more characters to go through.
Yeah, we got should we touch on Tachibana?
Kiryu's other allies like Reina and Nishiki. Who do you want to talk about next?
Well, since we talked about Tachibana while we were talking about Oda, well, let's cover Tachibana. Right at the gate, I'm gonna say that I like him way more as a person than Oda. I like him. I think I like him about the same as a character. However, it's just there's nothing about him. It just doesn't rub me the right way. I mean, he was really like rooted in the plan, and he's a good guy. It's this one scene where you see him with the hand in Kamurocho turning off all the lights. That rubbed me the wrong way.
Like,
Was
what
it
the
really
hell was
necessary?
that? Exactly.
What was that scene?
Kiryu, look at this. I'm edging Kamurocho. Makes all the lights come. What the shit?
Yeah, that just doesn't rub me the way. It doesn't rub me the right way. Like, why? Yeah.
Well,
but I mean,
with Tachibana, I actually feel like his character at times was pretty bland because they didn't really let us know him a lot. Especially
but I mean, maybe that was intentional. I don't know. Yeah, he's just a little bit too shredded in mystique.
Yeah. And then, like, I feel like they didn't elaborate too much on the arc that they were doing with him, being, like, him wanting someone he could trust. Because at the same time, he literally has Oda. And he, like, never alludes to the fact that he's, like, because Oda constantly talks about how he loves and respects Tachibana. But Tachibana almost never touches the fact that Oda exists, you know? It's kind of like a...
one-sided a little bit?
Yeah, it's a pretty one-sided relationship, which kind of
And then
sucks,
another thing...
you know?
And then another thing, Oda just already knowing that Tachibana are just knowing that Oda basically sold his sister to the mafia or something. It makes that whole tension of the last hour of gameplay probably just makes it. I'm at a loss for words. It just takes away a lot of the impact, I think.
I guess to a certain degree, yeah. Because it's kind of like, you kind of don't know what to feel during those moments, you know?
Yeah.
Which makes them a little bit confusing. And then after that, during Tachibana's death scene, once more, it's like, you still haven't really digested everything, and you don't really feel any sorrow for Tachibana's death. At least that's how I felt.
I felt sorrow for his death, but I can agree that part definitely went by really fast.
I mean, considering other deaths in Yakuza 0, like, it was kind of expected at that point, you know? The fact that Oda literally just died, it was like, alright. And then the thing they did with him teasing that guy with the sledgehammer, it was just, I already knew he was dead at that point, you know? It's like, just let me fight Kuze, let me do this cutscene, let me watch Makoto cry because I hate her, you know, let's get this over with.
What was I gonna say? Oh, yes, I remember now. Tachibana is a person, in just how he's depicted in Yakuza 0, he feels a little bit too distant as a person, I would say.
Yeah, at times he doesn't really feel too real, you know?
Yeah, he just doesn't feel, he feels too distant.
And also, I think they put in a little bit too much into his character. Because you have to remember, you know, he has ties to Kazuma, he has this, you know, real estate company, he has this disease, he got his arm cut off, he has a bat tattoo, he joined Oda. I think they piled on a little bit too much stuff into his character, which was why it kind of made it hard to digest at times, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
With that, the Tachibana crew was still enjoyable, though.
They were still very enjoyable.
I wouldn't say I hated any of the scenes. It's just at times, you know, it just didn't hit as hard as other moments in the series. But, like, I'm most certain that we're going to have way more positive things to say about the other characters. You want to start talking about the 3 lieutenants now?
I just want something to say. We're talking about these characters kind of in a vacuum. So, in gameplay, I think the tables are kind of turned where they actually work really well and they add a lot to the story. But in a vacuum, as just raw characters and the actions they took, I don't like them.
Oh, yeah.
In the gameplay, I like it a lot more. I just want to say that. I want to get that out.
Well, you know, I actually was watching some Yakuza 0 cutscenes, and it just, like, it reminded me of the fact that it's, like, it was good, you know? Like
it's really good.
If we had been watching the scenes that happened in those cutscenes, we probably would be talking a little bit more better, you know. And I agree to that.
Yeah. All right, 3 lieutenants, you said?
Yep, 3 lieutenants. We're gonna try and grouping them together so we don't waste too much time. And you know,
totally.
Shibusawa isn't too interesting.
I wish they did
cover Awano with the Majima episode, but
Awano.
Let's still cover that. So let's start with Kuze then.
Kuze he's pretty cool. You hate him at the beginning of the game, justifiably so, but I want to say my favorite part about him is actually like his actor's performance of him. Kuze's like real actor did amazing. It was awesome. And that seriously adds so much to his character. That adds a lot to his character. You start out hating him, which I think that's what they wanted. But as time goes on, I think you're supposed to keep hating him. So, I mean, I think it's intentional. But as time goes on, you start to like understand his motives more, and you learn a little bit more about him, and you get more attached. And I think you hate him. I started hating him less by the end of the game. I was kind of rambling there.
No, you're good. You're good. With Kuze, he was definitely a very interesting character. He was
absolutely.
He was kind of like a constant stone in Kiryu's path. The way they started it out was just perfect, with Kiryu having to leave the Dojima family and Kuze kind of being in the way of that. They added a bit of mystique in between which of the 3 lieutenants is really masterminding everything to get in Kiryu's way. And then with Kuze, he, you know, keeps coming back, which is also something that is like cool about his character, because it just, with other characters like Shibusawa and Awano, they really didn't have too much time in the middle before the ending. But Kuze, he was kind of there all the time, which made his character so much more impactful during, you know, playthroughs of the game.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Shibusawa and Awano, I feel like they could have had a little bit more development. But
yeah, absolutely for Shibusawa.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Man. He just suddenly comes out of the closet with a dragon tattoo, and he's like, "We need to fight because I know you've been making out with my boyfriend Kuze, and I don't like that."
Oh man, he just in 90% of the scenes he was in before the last like 4 chapters, he was just there. Like, he didn't really... there would be, like, no difference if he weren't there.
And see, the thing is...
there. Which, I mean, that's good for, like, the boss fights and, like building him up. But it takes away from his character development. I wish they did a bit more with him. Go on.
Like, the thing is, in this scenario, Kuze is supposed to be the one that's just there. Because he literally was stripped of his high position in the Dojima family for failing and, you know, lying to Dojima and stuff. But instead, it seems like he is having more interesting time in the spotlight during the story.
Totally. Yeah.
Which is like, it's fine because we love how Kuze was portrayed, but we also needed a little bit more of motive to fight Shibusawa at the end as Kiryu.
I guess the whole build, again, this is in a vacuum, but in the end, the hype is real with, like, trying to say Makoto. So it feels right. It feels right, but it just, I don't know. I think they could have done a little bit better with that.
Just think about it this way.
It's serviceable, totally.
Kuze was literally directly involved with Tachibana's death. It was at his fault, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, Kiryu just lets him live after this, but for some reason, he wants to kill Shibusawa. And, you know, during that scene where he's, like, about to kill him, punching him while he's on the ground, he thinks about, you know, Oda and Tachibana and, like, other stuff that happened. But it's like, at some point, it's like, why would that be the line Kiryu would cross, you know? Why would that specifically be there? Considering that, there was a lot of people involved in this conflict.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But
I think we're kind of on the same page with, like, Shibusawa. Wish we had a little bit more character for him.
But I think the dynamic of the three lieutenants was something that is just unmatched. You start out playing
it's really
the game,
cool.
and you have these three titans in your way, and they all have such cool character design, with the colors.
Yeah, totally. Oh my goodness, yeah.
And like it was great, Nothing
it
can
really
be said
good.
about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think we're done on the lieutenants. Should we touch on some other characters now?
Yeah. I think
Maybe Nishiki?
I think we should go over Nishiki because he's literally the first character we see in the game.
Other than Kiryu.
Nishiki, we need to talk about this because it is so cool what they did for Nishiki's character in Yakuza 0.
Yeah.
It was like fan service, but they literally just molded a man out of, Nishiki. It was so cool because before that we didn't really have too much. In, the original Yakuza game, there wasn't too much that explained their relationship with each other other than being blood brothers and, their relations with Reina and Yuki and all that stuff. But we see here such a cool bond between Nishiki and Kiryu. And if you recall, they had so much good scenes together. The one where they were both fighting shirtless, the one where Nishiki saves Kiryu from killing. He told him that, don't cross that line. If you're gonna do it, I'll do it with you. And then the ending which alluded to what would happen in Yakuza 1,
Oh yeah.
It was so good. It was so perfect.
That was pretty good. That went way over my head, honestly.
I recently watched it again, and I just it just snapped to me because I, didn't play the game during my first playthrough of 0. But now I understand, bro. When he was putting on the red suit, he was like, I owe a great debt to you, Nishiki, and if it takes however long, I will pay it back. And Kiryu thought that debt to be helping Nishiki, not go to prison because of his sister and stuff. But then you can obviously think about it through Kiryu's perspective. Who wouldn't go to jail for a friend, especially in the scenario that they were in with, Nishiki's sister.
Yeah, that went way over my head, honestly. Yeah, it just went over my head.
Oh, come on, man. That was articulately
I'm not joking.
created.
Even after playing 0, it went way over my head.
You should rewatch the freaking final cutscenes, man.
I rewatched them after you told me, and I guess I could see it. But still, I never would have interpreted it that way.
How could you not see it? That's literally what they were. It was made to interpret that because
I don't know.
it's
I
obviously
just
a
didn't.
prequel.
I didn't.
I mean, what else could Kiryu have meant? Because that's the only sacrifice he's made for Nishiki that we know of. Because we have no content in between what happened in the events of after Yakuza 0 and before 1995.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think you're giving it justice, man, because it's a pretty heartfelt scene, and it's like
I
like dynamic.
Yeah, it's cool. I didn't get that on my first playthrough, but we're going in circles now. I just didn't get it.
You also have to keep in mind the positions that Nishiki and Kiryu had during the beginning of the game. When you first play, it seems like Nishiki is the guy who knows what's going on. He has this whole Yakuza gig on, he's got the chicks, he's got the plan, he's got the money. Kiryu
He's got it all.
Seems like some kind of Yakuza grunt, like some kind of bum with no money, poor suit, shit, fashion style. And it's like, it's an interesting dynamic that shows, I just love it.
It's cool. It's cool.
the karaoke with Nishiki.
They did Nishiki better in Yakuza 1, they did Nishiki better in Yakuza 0 than they did in Yakuza 1. Absolutely.
Yes. But I also like what they did for his character in Kiwami with the new cutscenes, because it kind of
that's the best part of Kiwami in my opinion.
It let us see
best part of Kiwami.
What happened to him, because it's obvious that they were good friends in Yakuza 0, but
absolutely, yeah,
it's good to see. It's nice to see what happened to him during the events when Kiryu was gone in jail.
Yeah,
I think like when it came to characters in Yakuza 0 with Kiryu, Nishiki was just cream of the crop,
They did Nishiki really well.
Yeah, it was just lovely to give us that. It was kind of like fan service, but at the same time, it was so respectful to the character. And, they utilized the prequel to build such an interesting relationship between Kiryu and Nishiki.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, we're gonna be talking about everyone's favorite Yakuza baby mama. This is everyone knows who I'm talking about right now. We talking about Reina, bro.
Oh yeah, Reina. She's cool.
Cool? Bro, you've been glazing up Reina and now all you gotta say that she's cool?
Cool.
She's got big knockers, bro.
Well, yeah, I will give you that. She's pretty hot. Yeah. Yeah, she's pretty hot.
Blood is all the blood from your brain going someplace else? You gotta. You ain't saying too much right now.
I'm trying to, in my head, I'm trying to compare her to whether I like her more in Kiwami or 0. She's pretty cool in 0. She just isn't, like... Aside from getting Kiryu out of the streets, so he doesn't get, like, anally molested by the Dojima family, she didn't do a whole lot.
She had a lot of key moments.
Oh.
First off, we are introduced technically for the first time chronologically to the the bar, Serena or whatever it's called.
I don't know.
We find out the history between Nishiki and Reina, being the fact that Nishiki is a regular there, and how Reina knows a lot about Kiryu because Nishiki talks about him a lot, which is also kind of adorable. They're kind of like a small little family, And then through the events of Yakuza 0, she's a very caring figure. If you recall,
so she's a good character.
She had a few key moments during the time where Awano came into the bar when Nishiki and Kiryu were there. When Oda was hurt and he came to meet with Kiryu and she tended to his wounds. And of course during the fight that Nishiki had with Majima.
Yeah.
She had what I believe was a cool and interesting role in the story. It was nice to see that kind of a character in the game. And I especially liked how like she treated other people. It's like, she's just a very caring, loving person, and it kind of like started it gave us a reason to like this character so much, which made the events of the next game very devastating.
Yeah. Reina is a good character. I will say that. She's a really cool character. She just isn't like a major character.
Well, yeah, but that was kind of never her role, sadly, in the Yakuza series.
Yeah. She never did have a huge,
But I think that despite that, she is one of the more loved characters in the Yakuza franchise, despite being gone for like the past, 8 games. Not to her fault, obviously, but like, I wish that they kept her, man, because they could have done so much more with that.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk about the events of Yakuza Kiwami right now, but like, we're going to have to do her some more justice again in the Kiwami discussion we're going to be having.
Yeah.
But once more, I want to reiterate that I really like the scenes she was in. The way that she helped Nishiki fight Majima by throwing him that Sanimo Royale was just such a neat little detail that they added, and I love it.
And I love how she also tries to hit Majima with the bottle.
Oh yeah,
and I totally let her. I let her hit me.
You know, that's actually canon. You get an achievement to get that. It's like Majima wouldn't like raise a hand to a woman. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. My first gameplay, my first playthrough, I let Majima block the bottle. I just was on instinct.
Yeah, I let her hit me.
No, I didn't let her hit me though. The option is to
on my
block.
second playthrough. Yeah, on my second playthrough, I let her hit me. On my first playthrough, I blocked it.
I mean, if I was fighting, I'd let her hit me, if you know what I'm talking about.
Aim.
But yeah, it also kind of alluded to the dynamic that she and Nishiki had, because you could see how she cared about Nishiki a lot, in a different way, and it was it was nice to see that in the game where Kiryu didn't really have that much of that going on. Majima clearly had his whole arc with Makoto, but it was nice to see a nice lighthearted, caring relationship in the game during times of, many hardships and struggles. Not much else to say. I really loved her character in Yakuza 0.
I liked her character as well.
And it helped set up her position in Yakuza Kiwami, It's perfect. To a degree.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of what other characters are. I mean, should we talk about setup?
What do you mean, perhaps?
Well, we were talking about characters. What about Sarah?
Oh, Sarah. Yeah, I thought you said something else.
Oh, Sarah. Yeah.
He has a pretty interesting role in this game because
not a huge role. Yeah, but definitely a role.
His position in the Tojo clan.
Definitely.
I like the whole thing that was going on with the Nikorium, call the place.
Nikyo something.
Yeah. I kind of wish that was a more existent group in the rest of the series, but being a prequel. Oh well.
What are you gonna do?
I love the battle though in that that layer with all those weird men. But that was Majima. That was Majima.
We
should have touched his character in Majima's episode, but I guess we should.
We're redeeming ourselves. He's pretty cool.
He's
I like his motives.
He's Kazuma aligned, not Kiryu Kazuma, Kazuma aligned.
Kazuma, yep.
He clearly becomes the Tojo clan leader, and helps and also follows a little bit of the orders of Kazuma himself. It builds up a interesting dynamic between the two, and the way he talks to Kiryu, Tachibana real estate. It's good because he didn't need to have a big role in the story, but it was nice to have him there because it also what Yakuza 0 did with a lot of characters was help build up their position to where they would end up being in 2005.
Who else is there? Kashiwagi. I think we talked about him in Yakuza and Majima.
We haven't really touched on his character a lot.
Oh,
we did talk about his fight with Majima, which was super cool because we never got to fight him in the rest of the series.
Yeah.
I like what they did with his position being kind of like an older brother to Nishiki and Kiryu. I think it was a cool story arc,
I like how they did his character. Yeah, again, I wish they did more with him.
Yeah, Kashiwagi kind of
he never got anything. He's such an important character. Come on.
If you recall in my Kiwami 3 video, I was thinking that it would be cool if they gave him his own saga thing in a Yakuza Kiwami 3, because it would help
explain why he's not dead in Like the Dragon.
Yeah,
come on.
And then it would give us a chance to have some more story with him, to play him, and for finally, God's sake, a Kashiwagi tattoo reveal. That's all I ask.
Oh yes.
I bet you it's something sick, man. It's
Come
probably
on.
the most beautiful thing
Give
ever.
me playable Kazzy Wagi. I need my playable Kash Wagi.
Either way, I think we've come to the consensus that, like, a lot of these characters, despite not having too much time,
Still
they
good
were
characters.
they were good, you know. And then, like, less with Majima, but more with Kiryu. We have, like I stated, it's setting up a lot of characters for the future of the series. You know, Kazuma, the Dojima's, you know, Dojima falling to obscurity. Because also, I'm gonna start talking about Dojima now. Yakuza 0 focused on showing us who Dojima was. Because it was kind of alluded to in Yakuza 2 and Kiwami 2 that Dojima used to be a very powerful figure in the Tojo clan. But you would never get that idea in Yakuza 1. You know, he just gets killed by Nishiki.
It's shot.
And that's all he is. But in this game, we literally
They
fear
build
him.
that more up.
He is literally the most powerful guy in the Tojo clan. He owns the 3 lieutenants. He buys Laogui. He literally could have killed almost every character. Like, he could have killed Kiryu. He could have killed Majima. You know, if things went a little bit differently, the Tojo clan would have probably been run by Dojima, which is like, it's a nice thing in the story because it always keeps you on the edge for Kiryu's survival. Despite knowing that he has a full 6 games ahead, you see friends and allies getting, you know, murdered in front of you. And so it pushes your resolve to keep going, you know? And I think that's what kind of, like, when we were talking about Tachibana and Oda and other characters, like you said, we were talking about them in a vacuum. But as the whole story goes, I think they meticulously, like, stitch and seam together to form a beautiful story, you know?
Yeah. I like what they did with Dojima. I kind of wish they did I wish they could have done just a tiny bit more, but I mean, they did okay. They did way better with Kiryu-Chan than they did with Majima.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, at the same time, he wasn't really supposed to be there as much as Majima, so I mean, you can excuse it. Even on Kiryu-Chan, I wish they did just a tiny bit more.
Yeah, because, like, it also, like, begs the question, why would Kiryu go to the Dojima family after the events of Yakuza?
That is weird. Yeah.
Because that was already established in the series, so they really had nowhere to go. But Kiryu was directly involved in the downfall of Dojima. And then suddenly, in the next game, he's a captain of the Dojima family? You know?
Weird.
There's nothing you can do with that, but, you know, there are sometimes the little inconsistencies in, you know, Yakuza games. But, you know, it's fine, because overall, there's usually a lot of emotions and feelings to feel in these games. And with Yakuza 0, I think it was a very, very good game for the series that helped kind of revitalize it. Because, keeping in mind that Yakuza 0, I believe, if I recall correctly, is the most sold Yakuza game. Because, you know, it's the one you play chronologically.
It's Yakuza 0, and then the second one is Yakuza 7. It
kind of like helped bring a new wave of fans into the series, if you perhaps recall.
Well, we actually haven't talked about Kiryu yet.
Yeah, but
I don't know how we've gone this far. How long has it been? Like 45 minutes? An hour?
I think we had a similar thing going on with Majima. It's been a half an hour.
Okay.
We want to touch more on the story, though, right now, while we're on this, you know, topic. You have anything to add about, like, what you liked and disliked about the story?
Let me think. That's a loaded question.
Because, alright, let me give you a few pointers so you have, some things to base off of. We have...
Give me some stuff to chew on.
The main kind of issue being the, you know, the lot, the empty lot. We have, you know...
That wouldn't happen in real life.
Obviously, you've talked about already the fact that it set up a lot of characters for the rest of the game, which I find...
Which is good.
Very cool. And then we also have, like, basically the whole thing with his story crossing with Majima's. It's like, what do you think about these aspects of the story?
The empty lot wouldn't happen in real life. Everything else is really good.
Yeah, it's like if you pay that no like
and
attention,
Tachibana and Oda. You know, I had my grumbles with them, and that kind of carries into the story.
Oh, I guess to a certain degree, like I feel like there's at that place there's a little bit too much going on, and certain other scenes in the game are more easily digested. I think we talked about this before, but that's what made scenes like with with Kuze and Nishiki more fun, and maybe that's the bullet Oda and Tachibana had to take to make the rest of the game a little bit more enjoyable. But overall, I like the way they crafted the story and mixed it with what was going on in Sotenboni with Majima, and I don't have too much complaints when it comes to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've already got my Zest or Zooch score in for the story on Kiryu's side.
All right, you want to do it right now?
Let's do it.
All right. What are you thinking?
92.
92? That's high. All right.
It is high, but I really liked Kiryu's story.
With the talks that we had about Oda, I was expecting it to be lower. So I'm gonna
92.
have to give you 85.
Okay, so we're both still pretty high. We're pretty high into Zest territory.
Yeah, so practically it's rated super zesty. Like
very zesty.
If you saw it outside, you would go on your knees and beg it to marry you. Kind of zesty.
Yeah. Characters, should we give a Zest or Zooch score? Actually, let's talk about Kiryu first, and then let's give a...
all right, yeah.
Yeah.
Kiryu was, I think, like, in my opinion, this was the most interesting Kiryu in the series for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting what they do with Kiryu.
We just get to see a very young and impressionable Kiryu. Because I think maybe you might have the same opinion, but in the later titles, Kiryu kind of becomes copy-pasted. It's kind of like he just is a constant that's going through the motions. And,
I'll give you that.
That's not something that's too bad, because, in future games there are different scenarios he's put through, and it's it gives him more challenges to overcome. But at a certain point you're like, it's Kiryu, he'll deal with it. But with Yakuza 0, you're in the rough of it. You're in dirt. You're in ground zero. You need a...
Yakuza 0's depiction of Kiryu is the most interesting, because this is young Kiryu. He hasn't really discovered himself yet. He hasn't really become the Kiryu we know and love.
Yeah, and it's also like... I love his morals during this game, because it shows that he's a down-to-earth, simple man. And while he got into the Yakuza because he wanted respect and he wanted to follow the footsteps of Kazuma, I think he ultimately realizes that, after the events and some of his friends died, that, the world isn't about respect and all of that. It's more about, the relations you have. And I think by the end of Yakuza 0, he has grown immensely, which leads to his character being the way it is, during the scenes in 1995 in Yakuza Kiwami.
Yeah.
He's just a down-to-earth, humble guy who is just super easy to follow and super likable.
Kiryu is down-to-earth and humble?
Yes.
Did I hear that? In later games?
No, in between after Yakuza 0 and 1995.
Oh, I guess, yeah. But Kiryu is I don't know, I don't get the impression that he was down to earth and humble during the events of Yakuza 0. At that time, he felt really rowdy and kind of...
Yeah, but I feel like
young guy.
By the end, he kind of like
yes, by the end that changed him and matured. That's good character development. But seeing that more rambunctious young Kiryu is really cool to see in Yakuza 0.
You know, that's also why I think we should have some more like spin-offs during the like 1980s
that would
and
be
stuff.
Cool.
Because
totally. That'd be awesome.
A young Goro Majima, a young Mad Dog of Shimano would also be cool, you know?
Yeah.
Because like that would be the peak of his career with all the craziness, you know?
Yeah. I still want a spin-off of Yakuza that takes place in the 70s where you play as like Kuze or something. That would be awesome.
Yeah, man.
You get to see the Yakuza, like the 1970s Yakuza. That would be awesome. I want to see it.
Oh my god.
I want to see it. Yeah.
So basically, what's not to like about Yakuza 0's Kiryu? Like honestly, what's not to like about it?
I guess if you were a returning fan and you saw Kiryu like this, it might be a little off-putting, and maybe I don't know.
But it makes sense, you know. It makes sense, especially if you're a returning fan. You'll notice all of the fan service put into the game.
I think you would appreciate the differences. Yeah, I think you would appreciate the differences. Yeah,
it's kind of similar to the discussion we had with Majima in our other first episode.
Yeah,
it's like it gives you a different version of a character you already know, and it just is interesting to see what happens to them and how they're gonna make it through this story. You know. Yeah. And so, let's go straight to the. Okay, we're gonna do 2 ratings now. We're gonna do characters, and do you want to do overall what we thought about Kiryu right now, or after the rest of the conversation?
Let's do Kiryu now. Let's talk about Kiryu now.
All right. So
I'm gonna give him a Zest score of 90.
All right. I am going all in. I'm giving Yakuza 0 Kiryu a Zest score of 100.
Oh, you're going for the full 100.
Yes, I gotta give it to my boy Kiryu. Despite liking Majima and, considering this game more to be like his, Kiryu's position in this game is just lovely. The story they crafted was great. And the setup they made for Kiryu's character made him more relatable during times later in the series where, especially in Yakuza Kiwami, where he seems more stone and cold after prison, you know?
Yeah.
So that's 95. Pretty high, and I think it's well-deserved.
What about the characters in Yakuza 0? What kind of Zest or Zooch score we got there?
Okay, I'll go first this time. Just in case you don't have an impression yet, but
I've got a score in my head.
All right. I am feeling this is a little bit low, considering the praises I've been singing, but I am gonna be going, I think, 83. I'm going 83 for my Zest scale.
79. Actually, I'll bump it up. 80.
Okay,
because I still like the characters. Talking about them in a vacuum just kind of killed a lot of it. They're actually really good in the game.
Yes, most definitely. I loved there wasn't one scene with characters that I disapproved of. Like, unlike with what happened in the ending with Majima and Makoto, I felt like everything that happened in Kiryu's story was, it should have happened. It happened the way it happened, and it was perfect.
It's good. It's cool and good.
All right then. Now, we went through characters, story, and Kiryu. Now we need to talk about the location, the legendary Kamurocho.
Yakuza 0's Kamurocho is the best depiction of Kamurocho. Changed my mind.
I will not, sir, because I agree with you.
I wouldn't put it.
I love the whole thing before the Millennium Tower. It's such a vibe.
Yeah.
The city has that cool 1980s Japan feel, and it's just so it's a slice of life game essentially, because you could play the game and just enjoy 1980s Japan. The way they,
awesome.
crafted the story with the bubble economy and tied that into certain factors of Kiryu's, story, and the location, it just was perfect. You couldn't ask for more. Like, I have no problems with Yakuza Zero's Kamurocho. None at all.
What I want to see is 1989 Kamurocho, where it's still the 80s, but they just built the Millennium Tower. I like the Millennium Tower more than what was there before. Fight me? Well, actually, don't. You probably.
Well, no, they only started construction on the Millennium Tower then. I'm pretty sure that finished while Kiryu was in prison. Because if you recall, Kiryu didn't really... Wait, hold up.
Was it under construction in 95?
Yeah, I don't think it existed during 95, if I recall correctly.
Huh. Yeah. Okay, then maybe I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Zest score of like 95 on Kamurocho 1988.
I do not argue, and I will also go for a 95 there.
Yep, I just wish the Millennium Tower was there. I want to see what that'd be like. I think that'd be awesome.
Honestly, in my opinion, in like the future games, the Millennium Tower is kind of a annoyance. It's not too interesting. It's just there.
I like it.
It exists.
I like it. I think it looks cool.
It constantly has like terrorist disasters on it.
Oh yeah, that is an issue with it. It is a hotbed of explosions.
It's just like, well, it's been a year. Someone get the napalm. The Millennium Tower's got to blow up this Christmas.
Yep. Every Christmas. It's like clockwork. Every Christmas, the Millennium Tower goes kaboom.
You know what? Maybe we got something wrong. Maybe that's like their Christmas countdown instead of a New Year's countdown. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, guys, gather around. The Millennium Tower's gonna explode, and money's gonna rain everywhere.
Boosh!
Oh, what? This year a helicopter pushed the money down? God damn it, who the fuck forgot the bombs?
I love it.
If you recall, that's what happened in Yakuza 4.
I do recall. Well, we've covered.
It's so silly
story.
Though. We literally spent like almost 40 minutes on characters, but we literally are already finished with our Kamurocho discussion.
Because we just agree with that it's awesome.
Yeah, I guess there's not really much to say because everyone knows Kamurocho. We did talk a little bit more about Sotenbroni. And, obviously, there was a little bit more to discuss considering, its scenario. But I think that was a good discussion there.
Last thing to touch on, I think, is, the last thing to touch on is minigames. Let's start with the big minigame, the money management. What do you think of money management?
I absolutely loved it. It's like 12 out of 10. It's addicting. It's fun. I didn't mind waiting for the collections, and I loved how they incorporated the battles in it as well.
Yeah, man. Awesome. On my first playthrough, I had no idea how to do it, and I didn't do it. So I didn't have an opinion. After you taught me how to do it on my second playthrough, yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, it's like not only are you have the battles at the end where you fight the kings, the kings of the area, but you also fight them in various other mini games, which makes it once again, it's just more interesting that way. Because if you perhaps recall the business mini game in Yakuza 7, it was a little bit less fun because it did have a very interesting base mini game gimmick, but that was all that there was to it. There wasn't anything you did outside of the office building. But with Kiryu's story, you had to go and fight people who were disturbing your locations, your investment territory. You had to, like, if you recall, with the Electronics King, you had to play him in Outrun, which was super fun.
I lost.
Same.
But I got Outrun.
4,500,000. I just barely.
I don't even know what my score in Outrun in Yakuza 0 was. All I know is that I still have, among our friend group, I still have the highest score in Outrun in real life.
Oh, you wait. I already have a planned route and everything. I just need one lucky run, man. One lucky run.
Oh, crap.
Also, the characters in the business minigame were like
You're good.
Were so lovely and silly. If you perhaps remember the Pleasure King.
Oh yeah.
He was like,
that was pretty funny.
Oh my god, Slay Girl Slay. He was so
funny.
Slay
Queen.
The dynamic he had with Kiryu was, oh my god, it was so silly. It's
yeah.
The if you perhaps remember the very first king, the Leisure King, he was very antagonistic in the beginning, which gave a very good motive to, want to bring him down.
Keep going.
But then
yep.
They tied it in with the, cutscenes with the real boss and the other guys. And they gave us even more motive, to keep going after the Leisure King. Because initially, he was the one guy that we were kind of having beef with. But then we get introduced to more and more of these characters.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about it, I think doing the hostess minigame in Yakuza 0 is more fun.
I'm kind of on the fence about that, because
I wish it was a little. I like how involved the hostess minigame in Yakuza 0 is, where it's actually like a minigame and not just something you do.
Yeah.
I like that.
I feel you.
Yeah, but it's not like the money management is bad. So I've already got my Zest or Zooch score in mind.
Well, hold up. We got to talk about other minigames as well.
Oh yeah. What do we got?
So we didn't really go over this because for some reason I talked about the disco battles instead of, the disco battles.
Yeah.
I think the music selection is cool. I love how it's tied to the 80s and, the disco existing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's just
great.
Such a great addition to the game. Bowling?
Absolutely, yeah.
Bowling was fun.
Bowling goes pretty hard. Yep.
If you knew this, during the times when Nishki's with you, you could go and bowl with him. You could also bowl with the girls that you befriend on the,
Oh yeah, that's right. You can. I
minigame,
totally forgot about that.
which also was a fun addition. It was quite a silly game. Oh, excuse me. And then what else is there? I don't want to miss anything again.
I can't think of anything else. Yeah, I've got my Zest or Zooch score for all the minigames.
All right.
I got it in my head.
What is you thinking, cuz?
88.
88. Fitting, and you know what? I
very much
can't really use my brain right now, so I'm just gonna throw 88 out as well.
All right, yeah, we're both in agreement.
I think it's fair, considering a lot of factors, and there wasn't too much grievances with the minigames.
Definitely, yeah, they're all really good.
Oh wait, let's quickly also touch on the karaoke on Kiryu's side.
Banging tunes! Oh my goodness gracious!
I love how they brought back Bakamitai. Judgment.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
That was so
Judgment
cool.
is such a banger.
And then the rest were.
What's the one that's like 1, 4, 1, 2, 6.
That's
I should. What's that song? That one's a really good. That's a banger too.
Shit, I forgot.
Heartbreak
that
Mermaid.
Heartbreak Mermaid.
That's a banger. But that was also for Majima too, so
yeah. So then
banger,
I think they started sharing their songs, which is more than fine. But I also like the addition of the cutscenes in the songs. If you perhaps remember the Judgment cutscene where Nishiki was on the guitar and Kashiwagi was on the keyboard, that was just such a lovely addition,
That's awesome, yeah.
So basically, overall, it was a pretty fun experience, and I especially loved how it tied into the time of the 80s in Japan.
Yep. So, you think we're ready for an all-time full Kiryu experience Zest or Zooch score?
Yes, I think we went over pretty much everything we needed to.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
I think I've got my score in mind.
Do you perhaps remember who went first on the Majima episode?
I don't. I think it was me.
All right. Well, then I'll do it this time, so that the pressure's not on you this time.
Yeah. Yep.
I need to give Kiryu. I'm gonna give him a 95 on a Zest scale.
90.
All right, all right. A nice,
still pretty close.
A nice midway
close.
there. It. Okay. I just love what it did for the series, without a doubt.
Same.
It was great for the continuation of Kiryu's story. I loved what they ended up doing with the tie-ins to Yakuza Kiwami and Kiwami 2.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And I like the story building it did, not only for its own game, but for the future of the series, which, you know, lasted up until like Kiwami 2. That's when like the Yakuza 0 stuff ended, you know, existing. But that's obvious because 3, 4, 5, they have no ties because they were created before Yakuza 0. But otherwise, it was a lovely experience.
Yeah.
I loved Kiryu's section. Honestly, looking back, I really have no complaints directly, except for maybe Oda's weird betrayal. But, you know, much can be said about the rest of the experience. So, any last words to end off?
It's hot.
Oh, don't get me started, man. I edge to Reina every day.
Reina, I edge to you. Well, I think that's all, folks. Yeah, thank you for watching our Yakuza Zest or Zooch session. I think next time we might want to plan something like a big Yakuza substory, Yakuza 0 substory, Grand Zest or Zooch, a Yakuza 0 soundtrack Zest or Zooch. I think that might be in store in the future, but if you have any requests for things to go over, please leave them in the comments below, and thank you very much for watching.
And don't forget to H to Reina.